and privilege for me to have our keynote speaker, Professor Manzoor Ahmed, who I know for the last 20 years. When I was working with Pro Vice Chancellor of BRAC University, we also worked together. And I know that in the education field is one of the key person who contributed significantly in different areas. We are really happy to have him, such a versatile person who has made so much contribution in education. And I know the topic that he's going to discuss today, there are a lot of challenges that we are facing in 21st century. And in the 21st century, we have also got a lot of frameworks from different sources. For example, UNESCO gave 4 pillars of education. And then in the context of sustainable development, they also came out and another 5th pillar of education. And we know that outcome-based education is there. And again, there are so many aspect framework that also came from the 21st century challenges. And we know that the Economic Development Forum, they also came out different kind of ideas about job market and other things. Again, the COVID-19 brought us in another difficult situations. So in this context, it's a really big challenge for us, how we can really look into the 21st century skills, keeping in mind the 4th industrial revolution is moving now. Now with this in backdrop, I would like to request our keynote speaker, Professor Manzoor Ahmed, to start his keynote speech. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Samdani. It's a very special honor and privilege for me to have the chance to join in this international conference. Very happy to do that, happy to be invited. The topic that I have, as you know, is ICT, artificial intelligence, 21st century skills, 4th industrial revolution, and the learning challenges that all these different things pose for us. Now, I was listening to some of the presentations earlier, and I've seen the program, and it seems that the content of the conference very much on very specific technical aspects of computer technologies, artificial intelligence, and various application of these in the context of 4th industrial revolution, which is very appropriate, very important. But there is also a larger picture that we need to keep in mind, the larger, broader context of all these things and the special policy issues and challenges from a broader perspective, from the larger objectives of our society, of our nation, of our development perspective. That also needs to be kept in mind. And as we look at the specific technical applications of these new technologies, AI and so on, we need to see this in the larger perspective. So that's the sort of topic for my presentation today. And I guess this is part of the planning that the broader challenges, broader aspects should be kept in view. This is what I would like to talk about. Of course, this is a very large and complex area, and this can be approached in many different ways. And some of the challenges Dr. Samdani also already mentioned in his introductory comments. So I, of course, in a very short time, I had to sort of decide how to address this, what to sort of pick up to talk about. So I've taken a particular approach here. Hope you will find it still useful. Obviously, it cannot cover all aspects of these the issues here. So the content will be mainly a little bit of kind of defining the concepts of ICT and artificial intelligence and 21st century skills, fourth industrial revolutions. These are kinds of terminologies, buzzwords that we keep talking about. So what does these things mean for us in practical terms and how they relate to each other? These are not all disconnected. And then what do they mean or imply for education and learning challenges? This is what I want to talk about. So the next slide, please. The next. Can we
Ronnie, next slide.
Okay, the next slide. Okay, I want to start with a little bit of, before I go on into those specific content that I mentioned, a little bit of background here. There has been a global knowledge index survey very recently. It came out last week in the media, and it looks at the progress in terms of global knowledge performances of countries, and out of some 138 countries, Bangladesh comes out at the low end, and even among the South Asian countries, Bangladesh comes lower than the other countries. It's about the same score as Pakistan. India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Sri Lanka seems to be ahead of us. And this index, of course, all indices are, they look at a measurement in a particular way and they have a certain perspective, and one can raise questions about the methodology and so on, but it still gives a kind of broader picture, a kind of magnitude of where we are. And the index is based on some variables, quite a large number, 133 variables under 7 areas, 7 large sectors. And the sectors are particularly important as we talk about the learning challenges in the 21st century. The sectors are pre-university education. So they make a composite kind of index of all these different sectors and come out with a total number. And so they looked at pre-university education, technical and vocational education and training, higher education and research, development and innovation, information and communication technology, economic situation overall, and general supportive environment for development. This was done UNDP and Al Maktoum Knowledge Foundation in, I guess, in UAE. So here, I mean, this gives a picture which we cannot be quite happy with. We come out at the low end, and this sort of tells us of the challenges that we face. Okay, let's go on to the next one, please. Now, first of all, let me mention a little bit, just quickly, ICT, information and communication technology. This audience here is, I'm sure, quite knowledgeable about it, but let us just remind ourselves that when we talk about ICT, it is technologies that provide access to information through telecommunication. And very prominently these days, it is internet, wireless network, cell phones, and other communication media. A bit more formal definition is, it's a scientific, technological, and engineering discipline and management technique used in handling information and application of information in relation to social, economic, and cultural development of a country. And of course, there are very specific link with education. ICT in education usually is about e-learning. Then we talk about blended approach, blended and hybrid approach, flipped classroom, philosophy of constructivism. It's an educational pedagogic approach, and the student-centered pedagogy and lifelong learning opportunities, and then some essential conditions that have to be met. Okay, we'll come to this later on. Let me go on to the other uh, items, other terminologies. Next, artificial intelligence. I think again you are familiar with it. The ability of a computer or a robot controlled by the previous one, please. I think it has gone to the, go back to the previous slide, please. Okay. Ability of a computer or a robot control. No. The next one. Next one. Right, stay there for a minute. Ability of a computer, robot control by a computer to do tasks done by humans. In a way, what humans can do and require some human intelligence, and these things now being done by computer or robot controlled by computer. That is artificial intelligence. So in a way, it's some of the things that humans can do, the machines and the computers doing it. And it is coming in a very rapidly, very fast. And I think this conference has presented many of the topics and items which applies AI, is all around us. And we know in like a retail distribution company, largest one in the world, Amazon, uses artificial intelligence to learn about the consumers, their customers, what they want, and so on, and delivering these things. And Google Home, Apple's Siri, Microsoft's Alexa, etc., are using this artificial intelligence, and increasingly being used, still slowly, but increasingly in learning, machine learning, robots in some repetitive learning practices, and even in learning assessment, it can be used. And this conference has talking about some of these things. Next, please. Okay, next. The buzzword is 21st century skills. And when we talk about it, very often it is, one talk about 4 C's of 21st century skills: critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication. These are the 4 C's we talk about very often, but there are other things, related things, plus information literacy, media literacy, technology literacy. So these are various kinds of specific skills that we need to know. Flexibility, adaptation, leadership, teamwork, and ethical, moral judgment is part of it. Okay, next, please. So these are these items that I mentioned are associated with 21st century skills. But if we try to look at it a bit more deeply, then I think you can sort of categorize these various elements. And there are a part of it, one aspect of it is the content of 21st century skills, the core subjects. We talk about STEAM. We have talked about STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Now we recognize that it is not just those things, but also arts and humanities must be part of it. So it is becomes STEAM. And there are these specific subjects of learning under 21st century skills: the language, first language, mother tongue first, then foreign language, geography, history, mathematics, science, government, civics, etc. So these are the content subjects. Then some major themes, 21st century themes. These are global awareness, financial, economic, business, entrepreneurial understanding, civic understanding, health understanding, so literacy sort of techniques we need to know. Then some specific skills I already mentioned: critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, innovation, communication, collaboration, etc. Then some specific to information, media, and technology, the various kinds of literacy: information literacy, media literacy, ICT literacy, that is information communication technology. Then again, life and career choices and how you decide about what you want to do, your skills regarding that, and also carrying out your, you know, uh, your career uh, activities, uh, conducting yourself in your career tasks, and yeah, flexibility, adaptability, social, cross-cultural skills, people skills, productivity, accountability, leadership, etc. So these are a kind of trying to classify, categorize the different elements of the 21st century skills that we need to pay attention to. Okay, next one, please. Uh, okay, now are these all kind of new? No, not necessarily. I mean, these are, if you look at any, critique of education system, or what should we achieve in education, what should be our goal, then things that I mentioned, problem solving and creativity and leadership and, various kinds of skills, various kinds of literacy, these are aims of education always. These have been always so. And in 19th century, 20th century, and 21st century. Now, so we are talking more about these things now. So what's new about it? The new may be that there are some, some new dimensions in terms of certain things which are probably not emphasized as much. Coverage in terms of thinking and problem solving must be something that should be acquired by everyone now. Everyone needs some of these things. Innovation, creativity, life and career skills are needed by everyone in 21st century. New emphasis on information, media, and technology skills. There is a greater emphasis today than maybe it was in the past. New means and modalities of learning, anywhere, anytime, any content, more personalized and lifelong. It's not just when you are in your student life and student career, early part of your life, you just do learning and then it is done with. That is not the case anymore. It was not quite like this even in the past, but it's more so now. But what is missing in all this discussion? So I find that very often, these are all very important, what we are talking about here, what we very often hear about and talk about when we talk about 21st century skills. But what we probably don't talk about enough is inculcating ethical values and moral judgment, which is, I think, perhaps more important, even more important today than maybe it was always important, but more important today because there are more risks and more dangers for for humanity, for the planet, for all kinds of, for our existence, existential problems. So we need to be more aware of the moral and ethical dimensions of our learning. And there are new risks today, widening digital and learning divides. The new opportunities are there and it's creating new divisions, new disparities. There are new kinds of winners and losers. All are not winners. There are many losers. And learning and technology is also being used for wrong purposes. I'd like to talk about how this is being weaponized, used as kind of weapons for, undue kind of profit, wrong kinds of profit, control, power. These are the new risks, new dangers today we face. And so this is something that we have to be concerned about as we look into the learning challenges. Next, please. All right. So the fourth industrial revolution, another buzzword. This is the sort of new situation we face, and it is about the combination of what is called cyber, physical, biological systems come together in a new way. This has never happened before. Either it was, the mechanical system, electrical system, technology, and they were being used. Now, the human body, the biology, and even the societal sort of constructs, configuration are being combined with the technology, which is the new aspect of the fourth industrial revolution. And it is, of course, depend on what happened earlier, particularly depend on the third industrial revolution, which was the sort of digital technology revolution. And it does represent a new way of embodying technology within society and even within human bodies. And there are many examples of this. And I think many of the presentations in this conference kind of illustrate this new kind of combination of the technology and society and the human biology. Okay, next, please. So just to say that, you know, it's a kind of evolution. The revolution has come about through an evolving process. I think we can talk about the first industrial revolution is in the 1780s, when mechanical, steam, water power, etc., were being used, replacing human and animal kind of energy and biomass energy that has been replaced by these chemical technologies. And then came the second industrial revolution in the 1870s, when division of labor
I guess our Keynote speaker most probably has some technical problem.
I would like to request all of you to bear some moments. I hope Sir is been disconnected.
Well, let's wait and try to contact with him.
I'm trying to contact him. जी मंजूर भाई क्या आपने बता I contacted him and he is coming back within a minute.
Sounds great.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please.
We can.
I'm sorry, I thought, okay, what I was saying, just a second ago, is that these four industrial revolutions, in a way, continues, simultaneously, particularly the developing countries. I was saying that the first industrial revolution, the reliance on the human, power, human energy, biological energy. When the rickshaw puller pulls the rickshaw in our country, a very common means of transportation, we are in the first industrial revolution. Then division of labor, of course, has come in a big way. And then digital technology is also there in all aspects of our life. Even the remotest villager, while he or she is in the first industrial revolution, he is also the user of the third industrial revolution and the fourth industrial revolution. The cyber, physical, biological system also has come to us, and this conference illustrates that point. Next, please. Please, can you go on to the next slide? Okay, so the thing is that with these four things, four industrial revolutions, four industrial processes going on simultaneously, there are disruption and upheaval in our society, in our economy, and there are winners and losers, and that is the challenge. And as Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, warns that there are inequality, a great challenge in today's world. The world's richest 1% have more than twice as much wealth as the 7 billion people of the world. The remaining 99%, 1% is double of the 99%. The gap between rich and poor is undermining all of our fight against poverty, damaging our economies and tearing our societies apart. Insecurity is emerging in many different ways when we have these kinds of disruptions and disparities. The Global Risk Report of the World Economic Forum talks about the hyper-connected world creates many opportunities, but also rising inequality, which creates social division, exclusion, and unrest. And this is a volatile mix which creates condition for violent extremism, other security threats caused by weakened state institutions and their capacities. I don't need to go into details. I think we are all living through these in all parts of the world, both developed and developing. And then the question of asserting one's identity, voice, and community. Here, the combination of ICT, AI, 4IR, and all these things, presents sort of new situation regarding identities of individuals, groups, and members of communities. And we see the digital social media. One would have liked to see the digital communication bring people together, and solidarity of human beings all over the world, with different identities, and the diversity of culture and society could be bridged by digital communication. But while that is the potential, that happens to some extent, but it also creates divisions and gaps and new ways of creating your identity as individuals and groups and so on, which are creating new kinds of exclusion and conflict and living with a special kind of jingoistic nationalism, religious extremism, and all these problems. In a way, the advancement in communication is making these sort of divisive forces to gain strength instead of, mitigating this. So these are kind of the challenges that we are facing today. Next one, please. So next slide. I go on to the, okay. So these create new kinds of learning challenges. So as we started out earlier, initially I talked about the new kinds of learning opportunities, learning potential. It has to pay attention to the kind of knowledge, skills, and attitudes, beliefs, etc., that the learner bring to the learning situation. So we have to start where the learner is. That's a very basic principle in effective learning. And we have to sort of construct our learning ideology, learning practices, learning objectives, etc., on the basis of what is called the constructivist approach, constructivism, which means that the learners themselves participate in creating knowledge for the learner themselves, and the learners and the teacher together work on that, creating the knowledge for themselves. And the personal engagement of the learner is something very important, and that is in constructing knowledge. And then we mentioned anywhere, learning anywhere, anytime, any subject, and lifelong is the sort of new opportunity and a new challenge. And intensive use of technology, is much more intensive, especially the computer and the internet and so on. But we cannot totally rely on technology. The human being, first as a learner, is the human agency, and then the mediation of the teacher, of the guide, of the mentor. This has to be combined with the use of technology. If you leave it just to technology, then we create new kinds of problems. So there are some essential conditions which have to be met to realize the potential. First of all, very, very, I think all of us have become much more aware of this with the COVID situation, and when the learning systems, the institutions have remained closed for almost a whole year now, and we are trying to rely on technologies, and we are not succeeding that well in this respect. So first of all, we are realizing that students and teachers both, and the institutions, have to have the access to the digital technologies and the digital devices at school, at home, in the classroom, which is not there, particularly in developing countries, but even in the developed world, it's still a problem, but much more so in our parts of the world. Then we need the proper, not yet, please. Give me a more minute on the previous slide.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, okay. Previous slide. May we go back to the previous slide? Give me 1 minute.
Just a minute, sir. I'm trying.
Oh, I see. Okay. What I was going to say, maybe let me go back to my notes.
Yes, sir, it's here.
There, Prophet Manzoor is there.
Okay. So the conditions. We must have the technology available and the devices available. We need the content. Is there not there? So much content in the digital world. That itself is a problem. How much of it is junk? Probably for my own learning purposes, for any one learner, maybe 99% is junk. And that judgment has to be made. What is appropriate? What is relevant for you? It may not be junk for other purposes, but for a particular purpose of my particular job of learning at this moment, it's mostly junk. I have to choose what is right. And here I need help, some guidance, my teachers, my mentors, somebody who can help me. And then the teachers and the intermediation of the teachers and the facilitator is very critical. And without that, I cannot navigate the digital world. You know, uh, what is happening today that without this support and intermediation, some more capable one, more tech savvy, more, intellectually capable. Of course, there is a distribution, normal distribution among learners. Some 10% or 20% are geniuses, and they don't need the intermediaries. I'll finish in half a minute. So they don't need the intermediaries. And so they are taking advantage of all this, and it's creating a new digital divide, new learning divide. And here we need the teachers and the mediators and the institutions which have to come in and bring in the 90% who are not taking advantage of these new technologies, new learning opportunities, and bring them into the learning process. So we have to have learning policy, strategy, programs which have to cope with these new growing risks of inequality. That is one major risk. And the other is what I mentioned earlier, the weaponizing of learning technologies to serve misguided objectives. All kinds of fake news and post-truth uh, world that we live in. So here we need, it is a kind of using the technologies and the learning processes for the wrong purposes. So we have to, stand against that and protect ourselves. So these are the kinds of challenges. Okay, so these are the broad picture, and we have to see what we can do. Next, please. I think this is it. All right. So uh, maybe the last point I'd like to say is that this conference has brought in our participants who are talking about the use of technology, use of artificial intelligence, uh, ICT, and so on. There are specific technical applications. Wonderful, very necessary in the context of fourth industrial revolution. But the participants of this conference are the privileged elite. I've talked about the digital divide, the learning divide. These are the elites who are taking advantage of the fourth industrial revolution. But for each one of us here, maybe there are 10 or 20 of our fellow citizens who are equally capable, innately capable, but not taking advantage, not able to take advantage of the opportunities. So this is the challenge we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, respected Manzoor Ahmed. I was really carefully observing the way that you are basically mapping the framework of 21st century, the kind of learning framework that was developed over a period of time. And you're also wonderfully highlighting how the fourth industrial revolution took place over a period of time. And in your presentation, what I found that you have rightly pointed out the human values, issues of human values. Again, you have also touched the weaponizing issues and creating discrimination and inequality. And finally, you have also touched one of the important aspects that through this 21st century education system, what kind of system that are we really moving forward, or whether are we really addressing the issue of inequality and digital divide that has been created. It's a wonderful way of looking into it. I really appreciate your insightful presentation, taking time. Now, floor is open for asking questions. We'd like to entertain some questions from the audience. Okay.
May I have one question, sir?
Yes, sir, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Manzoor Ahmed, for highlighting very important points related to digital divide, inequality, content development, etc. Especially, but the point you focused on is the junk information in the internet repository is really is a point of concern. I just want to know from you that to get out of too much junk information, what should be focused? Is it policy or the technology? What is your feeling?
Well, as I understand it, the internet world, the digital world is such that it's difficult to control the flow of junk information. Very difficult. And what is junk for me or you for a specific purpose may not be junk. You know, there are maybe good junk and bad junk. Some are, when it is purposefully wrong information given, then that maybe ways should be found to control it. But there may be other things which are, just for fun, just entertaining, or to some extent useful. So obviously, I mean, there is a fine line. How do you control it? And you want to have freedom of information and expression also. You cannot, control it too much. So it's a kind of developing ability to judge and make a judgment about what is right and what is useful, and developing that skill. I think this is one of the things through our education system, how we develop that skill to make the judgment about what is junk, bad junk, useless junk, and what is relevant and germane to your own purposes. I think.
Thank you. I think we need both policy and the technology. Both are required to address it. Thank you very much.
Any more questions? Manzoor, you have been working with Education Watch for a long time.
Yes.
I know they made significant contribution in this area. Regarding this question, leading to this question, if you consider the Bangladesh situation, in order to really reach to the large scale people, to marginalized people, what kind of measures the government should take so that we know that infrastructure development is one of the area, but in order to really reach to the grassroots people now, primary education, secondary education totally blocked. And we are not really, we call it learning process should not be stopped, but what kind of decisions are really taken by our policymakers? What is your comment about this?
Well, there is a short-term issue. Is right now schools have been all closed for a year, and how long should it? Now it has been extended to middle of January next year, and it should be reopened. But then with some, not putting students and teachers in danger. So, but we are not sure how exactly. So that's an immediate issue. And I think we have to go back to schools and reopen, but with measures, maybe initially trying it out slowly with some, control, and maybe double shift and alternate classes, small classes, with all the safety measures and so on. That's an immediate thing. But pre-existing in our system, before COVID even, there were great disparities, great, weaknesses in our system, students not really learning, majority are not achieving the basic competencies they should. So these are longer term systemic issues. The systemic issues have become more exposed through the pandemic, but these were there. So we have to now, I think, from the lessons from this pandemic, how we can use this and see how we can address some of these more systemic issues. And here maybe the challenges of technologies, how we can use the distance learning approaches, but in a hybrid way, in a blended approach, with the teachers also prepared to support this process and developing their skills and making the devices available, making the connectivity available to all. It is not there. Right now, it is majority are not able to receive this. So these are some of the issues that come up. I mean, there are other governance issues and so on are there, of course.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think because of time shortage, we have got another session moving. So we'd like to cut short. So I would like to request our moderator, Dr. Shahabuddin, to close the session. Dr. Shahab.
Thank you very much. sir. So may I now request Arifa to share the screen? So thank you very much, Dr. Manzoor Ahmed, for your valuable time. And I really appreciate the thoughts that you have shared with us. And we are, I think it's kind of integrated some fundamental questions among us, and we might think and find some solutions to that. So now I would like to share and hand over the certificate of contribution to Dr. Manzoor Ahmed for your time, and we're gonna email you this certificate as a digital souvenir in this digital era, and hope you would like it. And next slide, please. And also thank you very much for our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Dr. Mohammad Ghulam Samdani Fakri, sir, for being the session chair of this keynote session and contributing with some insightful comments and questions and handling the whole session. So thank you very much, everyone, and hope to see you again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samdani, and thank you.
Thank you, Manzoor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm closing the session. Thank you.
Okay.